Have you ever wondered why the most powerful people in history weren't always around? Think about kings hiding in their castles, rich people who don't talk much, or leaders who step back when they're most popular. There's a reason for this. It's not because they're stuck up or just trying to be mysterious. It's a plan. What if I told you that every time you make yourself too easy to find, too easy to see, you actually lose power without even knowing it? Today we're going to talk about why being away, being quiet, and being hard to get is stronger than always being there, being loud, and being easy to reach. From old thinkers like Machiavelli to what modern science says, from queens to company bosses, you'll see how disappearing at the right time can make you more important, more liked, and even a little bit feared. Stay until the end because this idea could really change how you live your life. Niccolò Machiavelli said it plainly in The Prince. A man who is esteemed is not easily conspired against. But esteem doesn't come from being constantly present or always accessible. It comes from distance, from the sense of someone being just out of reach. It comes from being missed. Machiavelli understood that rulers had to carefully manage their appearances, not to vanish entirely, but to be seen sparingly and only at carefully chosen moments. Overexposure in his eyes was not strength, it was a liability. Constant visibility weakens authority, it strips away intrigue, invites scrutiny, and dulls influence. Familiarity doesn't just erode mystery, it breeds contempt. But this idea didn't start with Machiavelli. Centuries earlier, Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "The sage stays behind, thus he is ahead." His philosophy wasn't about force or assertion. It was about subtlety, restraint, and quiet influence. In his world, power wasn't loud. It didn't draw attention to itself. It was felt more than it was seen. The less you do, the more gets done. The less you show up, the more you're remembered. It's a paradox that still holds true. By withdrawing, you create pull. By holding back, you draw people in. Stillness isn't passive, it's strategic. Modern psychology backs this ancient wisdom. The scarcity principle, articulated by Robert Cialdini, shows that we value things more when they're rare. Human beings are wired to chase what's slipping away, to want what they can't easily have. We romanticize distance. We obsess over the unavailable. The person who's always around gets taken for granted. The one who occasionally disappears, they gain gravity. They turn into a question mark, and that question fuels curiosity. The unknown captivates us far more than the overexposed. You've felt this in your own life. That friend who always says yes, who's always down to help or hang out. Eventually, you stop noticing their efforts. Gratitude fades into expectation. That coworker who's perpetually online, who replies instantly, you stop respecting their time. But the person who occasionally says no, who sets limits, who isn't constantly available, you notice when they do show up. Their attention feels like a choice, not an obligation. That's where respect begins. That's where power starts to take shape, not in presence, but in purposeful absence. Let's take a historical lens. In the 17th century, King Louis XIV of France mastered this better than almost anyone. He made himself the center of court life, literally the Sun King, with the nobility orbiting him. But while his presence was felt everywhere, he himself was seen sparingly. His schedule was public spectacle, but audiences with him were rare and tightly controlled. His silence made his words matter. His distance made his attention a prized commodity. Nobles obsessed over glimpses, over gestures, over tiny signs of favor. He built an empire of influence by appearing less, not more. Even in the brutal logic of warfare, absence has power. The Mongol general Subutai, one of Genghis Khan's greatest strategists, was famous for disappearing his armies, vanishing from the landscape entirely, only to reappear at an unexpected moment with overwhelming force. It wasn't just his tactics that terrified enemies, it was the uncertainty. It was the dread of not knowing where he was or when he'd strike. He didn't just win battles, he created myth. His power wasn't just in what he did, but in what people imagined he could do. That's the power of invisibility. Now contrast that with Napoleon Bonaparte, a man of immense charisma and skill. Yet his fall teaches another lesson. After his first exile, he returned from Elba with dramatic flair. But his second reign, the so-called 100 Days, fizzled fast. Why? Because he had been seen too soon. The people hadn't had time to forget his flaws. He returned before absence could transmute defeat into legend. Instead of inspiring awe, he reminded people of reality. He lost not because he was weak, but because he was too familiar. Reverence requires distance. Nietzsche understood this danger. He who fights with monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster. But perhaps more subtly, he hinted at another truth. Too much exposure to greatness diminishes it. The more you see something, even something extraordinary, the more ordinary it becomes. Icons lose power when they're always in your feed. Even gods, to stay divine, must retreat. Mystery isn't just aesthetic, it's functional. It keeps reverence alive. Think of the artist who vanishes after one unforgettable album. The lover who pulls back instead of texting constantly. The leader who pauses before speaking. In every case, what's withheld becomes powerful. The silence between gestures, the space between appearances, that's where tension builds. A study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology confirmed this. People find others more attractive when they're slightly less available. Not distant enough to seem disinterested, but just unavailable enough to provoke wonder. That hint of uncertainty? That's the spark. Even animals understand this. The alpha wolf doesn't constantly bark, growl, or fight. It doesn't need to. Its power isn't in noise, it's in presence. It shows up at the right moment, disrupts the pattern, and then recedes. Its silence is a signal. Its restraint amplifies its authority. That kind of control, appearing only when necessary and never when expected, that's what makes others fall in line. Power isn't volume, it's impact. And the less you use it, the more it grows. Here's a more poetic example. In ancient Japan, the samurai embraced yugen, a deep, subtle kind of grace. It wasn't about showing off skill or dominating attention. It was about what was left unsaid, unseen, unflaunted. A great samurai didn't have to prove himself with every motion. He let his aura do the talking. He let mystery sharpen his edge. In that culture, presence was dangerous. But absence? That was sacred. Absence created myth. Fast forward to today and the pattern holds. Tech giants like Elon Musk disappear for weeks only to return with a single tweet that sends markets into chaos. Beyoncé drops off the radar. Then out of nowhere, an album, a visual masterpiece. No announcement, just impact. That contrast, quiet then storm, is what keeps them larger than life. They don't chase attention, they orchestrate it. That's the playbook. Even in personal relationships, the dynamic applies. Text too often and you flatten your presence. Be too available and your value seems automatic. But give space, create some friction, and something changes. Interest sharpens. Longing grows in the gap between messages. You become something to reach for, not something that's always there. Desire feeds on absence. That's not manipulation, it's human nature. And let's be clear, absence isn't the same as abandonment. It's not ego or cruelty, it's intentional space. A deliberate pause that lets your presence gain weight. It's saying, you don't get all of me, not for free. That's not coldness, it's clarity. That boundary isn't a wall to keep people out. It's a throne to remind them what you're worth. That's not arrogance, that's gravity. So how do you put this into action? Start by reclaiming your time. Say no more often. Let some texts sit unread. Don't reply just because you can. Don't explain every move. Skip the party once in a while. Let people notice your absence. Let them feel the gap. That tension they feel, that's power forming. That silence, that's your presence being amplified. Let them ask, "Where is he?" Or, "Why hasn't she responded?" Because in that moment, you've flipped the dynamic. You've become the one who's chased, not the one who's chasing. You've become rare. And rarity in any age is priceless. Don't just show up, arrive. And when you do, make it count. Speak less. Move with calm. Let your presence feel like an event. This isn't about playing games, it's about self-worth. You don't owe everyone constant access. Value your presence like a rare currency. If you're always available, your presence becomes cheap. But if you're rare, strategically rare, your presence becomes a prize. And here's the truth. Power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg to be seen. Power waits. Power lets the world come to it. So stop being so easy to reach. Step back. Create space. Make your presence felt by making it rare. And when you do appear, own it. People don't chase what's always in front of them. They chase what they might lose. If you got value from this, hit subscribe, drop a like, and share it with someone who needs to start pulling back. Sometimes the most powerful move is disappearing. Thank you for watching.